Good afternoon. I'm Alexandra Kritina, journalist with Kyiv Post, and today we are interviewing Natalia Fursyuk. She's a director of Government Office of Euro-Integration and former Deputy Minister of Infrastructure. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Alexandra. Nice to hear you.
Thank you for agreeing to the interview. On May 9, the President of Ukraine announced the completion of the second part of the application form for EU candidate status, and your government office has been working hard on this document. Please comment a few words about the process. Is there any resistance generally, or it goes smooth? How many questions were in the document that Ukraine had to fill?
Well, the process was divided in two parts. First, during the visit of Ursula von der Leyen, we have received the first part of the questionnaire, and as President promised to fill it within 1 week, so we were under very big time pressure to fill this first part. That was concerning political and economical criteria only. So that was around roughly 400 questions, but you can't answer yes or no, obviously. This should be detailed, usually answer, providing the detailed description of various legal acts and state of play, meeting on Copenhagen criteria, etc., etc. So this was really a tough exercise. I think the main player there was the Ministry of Justice, and to a less extent Ministry of Economy. They did really a very good job. But generally for both parts, we had more than 60 state institutions, ministries and other organizations involved into this process. The second part was about the acquis, approximation of our legislation to the European one, and that was already more than, or I would say about 1,900 questions. So it was really very extensive, 33 chapters, like in our association agreement, with detailed answers on where we are with our approximation level and what we are going to do if something is not adopted yet. So that was the challenge. And usually I would say countries have about a year to fill both of these parts, and we have done it during 3.5 weeks.
French President Emmanuel Macron commented on May 9 that it would take decades for a candidate like Ukraine to join the EU. Could you technically comment on the following procedures that Ukraine has to pass to become the EU candidate, and how much time would it potentially take? Okay,
so now, based on our answers to the questionnaire that European Commission gave us, European Commission has to prepare their opinion whether we are ready to become a candidate country. And then in June, 27 countries have to vote unanimously. And this is a bit of challenge for Ukraine, of course, knowing that some of the countries are still hesitating. So this will be the most important decision. The best case scenario, they vote for us to become a candidate country. And then after that, it will mean that negotiations will be open. This is a special procedure to open negotiations with the candidate country. 2 delegations will be formed, and we will start to negotiate new agreement, not the association agreement that we are working on now. It will still be valid until we have the new one, but we will negotiate a new agreement that will basically determine how much time do we have to meet this and that requirements of the EU. So this is the best case scenario. Sometimes it really, or not sometimes, usually it is really a long procedure, but I don't think it can be decades. However, you know, with the Turkey, it took quite a long time, and they didn't become a member state in the end. though they have been a candidate country for a while. But I think that our ambition is to become a candidate country. Other scenario, we become potential candidate country, then we don't negotiate new agreement, and we stay in this status until we fulfill current association agreement, and then it will be taken from there, but it is still a political signal that we are welcome in EU. And then the worst case scenario, of course, I even don't want to mention, because we believe that this will never happen. So in theory, this can take couple of years based on the situation with Russia, obviously, and how long this war will last.
Russian propaganda speculating a lot regarding European future of Ukraine. I hope you can comment positively on this issue.
Obviously, you know, Russian propaganda, and still Russia has its own diplomats who are also working to prevent us from this next step. But I'm sure that on our political level, and our diplomats are doing as much as possible so we can be taken positively. If you saw last surveys, European citizens widely support Ukraine being a member of EU, and we also see that in some examples, some hesitance from the leaders is scoring their rating down. So we really hope that that the examples that show Poland, Lithuania, Estonia, Latvia, and obviously Great Britain, these examples will be taken further by other countries. But we also understand that big players like France and Germany, they play considerable role here.
Could you please describe the changes in the government office activities that the war has imposed? How the war impacts European integration processes in Ukraine, and what are the biggest challenges?
Well, obviously, it had impact because from the beginning of war, the focus has changed to the defense. But then when we have applied for the membership, it changed back, and now there is a very strong focus on European integration. Before the war, our level of implementation of association agreement was 63%. So this is quite high, I would say, if take into consideration that it entered into force in 2017. So during 5 years, we have managed to implement 63%. And last 2 years actually were very good. We implemented 20% of our obligations. So unfortunately, this speed was slowed down with the beginning of war for natural reasons, because nobody was really ready for that and to work in such circumstances. But obviously now it's back on the agenda, because in any case, until we have new agreement as a candidate country, the only valid agreement and the only barometer, I would say, to measure will be current association agreement. And we have to fulfill the plan that was adopted by the Commission under the Prime Minister of what legal acts should be adopted this year, and what secondary legislation should be adopted this year to implement our association agreement obligations. So I think that now it will go even faster, because we have to show that even in these circumstances, we are still working on European integration agenda. Now we had not a break, but we have been busy last month with a questionnaire. But I would say from now and on, I believe that it will be very quickly. The adoption will be very quickly, because many acts are already there. You know, it's just a matter to vote in the parliament and find the consensus on some issues that were more or less difficult to compromise before the war.
Natalia, thank you so much for this short interview, and Slava Ukraini!
Героям слава!